In the southeastern U.S., where 3 states meet, is an area of similar geography and plenty of things to explore. I'm referring to Alabama to the southwest, Tennessee to the north, and Georgia to the southeast. In my previous video, I visited Cloudland Canyon and Cathedral Caverns. This time I focus on an area around a quiet little town called Stevenson, Alabama. Somewhere I had heard that there was a community park right within the city and people were allowed to camp there, so that's what I headed out to find. Now sometimes viewers ask me, how do I pick a spot and how do you set up? What's the easiest way? Well, that varies every campsite. For example, this is a recreational area inside a small town. I believe with my minimal research I can camp here, but I don't know yet. And it looks like I have hookups, but there's locks on them. So the first step with me is just basically assessing the situation. Is this gonna work? Do I have permission to camp here? So that's what I have to find out first. So I'm not gonna set up yet. I'm gonna walk around and ask a few questions. The park was by a small lake with a boat ramp and gazebo. There was also a walking trail that led to town and an old pioneer log cabin at its entrance. But right behind the park sign was something I'd never seen before. It was a tornado shelter, an essential in this frequently windy state of Alabama. My curiosity got the best of me, so I took a peek inside. Along with a small bathroom, it was just a well-fortified sitting area, functional, but not exactly a 4-star hotel. If you're a pet lover, however, sorry to tell you, but Toto gets a one-way ticket to Oz. Well, that was pretty easy. I just had to walk to City Hall, which is a short distance away, pay a fee, got permission to camp, and I'm ready to roll. A couple of guys came out, unlocked the electrical box, and now I have electrical, and now I have water, and I'm free to camp. Now, of course, I don't need a hookup. However, it's getting cold again, it's cloudy. It's better to just have that, especially if it's a phenomenal deal, and it was. For full hookups, it's only $10 a night here. Now, for me, that's great, and I don't have to camp free every time. If there's a deal, I'm gonna take it. And if you wanted to camp in this area, the good thing is you can camp for free. There's an area around there right by the water where you can pitch a tent or probably park with a small van. You won't get hookups, of course, but it is free. You just gotta let them know you're here and they'll take care of you. So that's it. I'm ready to set up, and the next step, I gotta level with you, is pretty easy. For this spot, the ground tilted to the right. I always carry scraps at 2x4s or 4x6s for this purpose. Oops, I didn't leave room for the chocks, but corrected this. I usually only use 2 chocks, one on the downslope side of each wheel. I have another wooden block for the hitch jack, as the post is never long enough. Opening the window helps me determine if it's level, but I think I'll mount an actual level on the tongue to make it a little easier in the future. Now the electric part is strictly optional, but I think I'm going to treat myself. I didn't camp in the free places, I just figured I'd leave them for somebody else. Powered up. The awning is next, and it only comes down if it's not too windy. Sometimes I only extend it halfway if there's even just a little bit of wind. Last thing, I set up the chair and I'm done. Now that I'm settled, it's time for some sightseeing. Just 15 minutes from Stevenson is the Russell Cave National Monument. Admission to the Park and Interpretive Center is free. This important archaeological site is one of the earliest known indigenous settlements in the southeast U.S., with some relics estimated to be 10,000 years old. It is also one of the longest periods of settlement, with the cave being used continuously for thousands of years, only to be abandoned when the Europeans arrived. On display are tools, weapons, and pottery, many of which were recovered right from this site. After looking at the displays, it was time for a short stroll to the cave itself. The wooden walkways make it easy for everyone to enjoy the trail. It was early spring when I went here, so many of the trees were still in bloom. This area is also on the North Alabama birding trail, so bring binoculars. The rocks are limestone, which erode and dissolve over time due to mildly acidic rainwater. Not the best soil for growing, but these spring flowers made the best of it anyway. The trail follows a turquoise stream that disappears into the Russell Cave entrance. A long time ago, the stream originally submerged the cave, but shortly before the first habitation, part of the rock collapsed, diverting the stream and raised the floor. This made it perfect for human occupation, as it provided shelter and running water in the cold months of the year. An added bonus, a good hiding spot from those annoying saber-toothed tigers. It was at this spot at the mouth of the cave that the first human settlers called home almost 10,000 years ago. The cave is at least 7 miles deep with several entrances. However, it is now protected and no caving is permitted. The trail ends at the mouth of the cave. Being that this was a noted birdwatching area, I stopped at a nearby lake to see what all those white specks were. Looks like it was the favorite feeding spot for hundreds of American white pelicans. It kinda looked like they were performing some sort of water ballet, so let's put it all to music. Now, one thing I haven't talked about is my new chair. I've always used a director's chair, and they don't last long. This is like the second one this trip, and I've probably had at least 4. But this one is special, and I haven't even taken the plastic off it yet. It's a Mac XL director's chair. XL is for extra large because it'll hold 350 pounds. Now, I don't weigh 350 pounds, so why on earth would I want a chair for somebody with a really big butt? Well, it's not because I need the room, it's because of this. Listen. It doesn't squeak. It's the first director chair that doesn't squeak. So while I'm talking to you, it's not going creak, 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 which is the problem with all the other ones. And it's got the side pocket here, and these both fold down like that. But this side is a cooler. Now, I'd be pretty lazy if I use this cooler when the fridge is right over there, but I guess if you're at a sporting event or something, that's kind of cool. But what I like about it is, and it's not modified yet, but I think I can, is that if I insert just a piece of board in this area here, I'll have another flat surface, so I have 2 tables, one for my left hand, which is what I use the most, and one for the right. And of course, I can always keep my beer in here, which I occasionally will. Nice chair. I can't find it online. I'm searching. If I do find a link, I'll be sure to include it in this video. But I think this is going to last me a long time. The next morning, it was time to visit the town I introduced at the beginning of this video, Stevenson, Alabama. There's no denying that its roots were in the rails, as the first train depot was built around 1852. When it was destroyed during the Civil War, a new one was built in 1872 that still stands today as a railway museum. "1911 was a tragic year for Stevenson, as a major fire destroyed most of the downtown business district. The wood structures were replaced by brick, many of which you can still see today. The facades still carry a hint of those glorious days when Stevenson was a bustling little showtown of Americana, with a little eclectic flair thrown in for good measure. Depot days are in June, so if you're in the area, come join the party and parade. The trains still run these rails, however they now just pass by. The roaring of steel is now just a reminder of those who still live here of their glorious local history. But once the train has passed, all is quiet again, and it goes back to just being a peaceful little town of about 2,000 people. Oh, listen to that. That's a happy bird. beautiful park in downtown Stevenson. What a place, what a beautiful little town. Lots of character, lots of history, beautiful trees, and the only thing it doesn't seem to have right now is tourists. I think it's the fate of these old railroad towns that when the interstate comes through, they get forgotten. Few cars passing by and not stopping. They need to stop in these little places like this. Check out the museum. Check out the little shops. Take a stroll. So if you're thinking of camping near Stevenson, come on in. Spend a few bucks. I think they'd appreciate it. Now for lunch, I did check out the local pizza, but for dinner, it was back to the trailer and something a little less traditional. Well, it's that time again when I get to titillate you with my culinary expertise. Now, I know a lot of people are really fussy about things like taste and flavor and nutrition. Yeah, those things are all really good too, but for me on the road, it's all about what I happen to have in my cupboard, what I could pick up at a gas station or a little Walmart, and what's easy, what's cheap, and has a minimal amount of cleanup. And today it's a special treat because Idaho gets to meet India. I've got some Indian spinach dal in a little package, and I have some 4-cheese mashed potatoes. And to freshen that up, from a roadside stand, I picked up some fresh okra. So that's the southern portion of this meal. Now to make this work for me, it's got to be the minimal amount of work. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make 2 cups of boiled water. I'm going to boil 2 cups of water. I'm not going to make it, which is the amount for the mashed potatoes. And as that's heating up, I'm going to be throwing in the whole package, not open, just in the pot, of the spinach dal. And of course, when both of those are being heated up, it's also going to be cooking up the okra. Sounds like a meal? Let's find out. Now once the 2 cups of water started to boil, I threw in the chopped okra. The packet of dal goes on top. A couple of minutes later, I drained the water into the mashed potato package. Then gave the package a little squeeze to mix it up. The okra and the potatoes look good, but the spinach dal did kind of overwhelm the plate. Well, it looks kind of green, but how does it taste? Unique. Boiling the okra made them a little snotty, so I think I'll use peas next time, but it does taste good. So if you're hungry and in a hurry, you might give this a try. Oh boy. Oof. I'm bloated. I guess between the 2 servings of dal and the 4 servings of mashed potatoes, I kind of got stuffed. And I think I had enough sodium for the week in that one meal. And when I have a lot of salt, there's only one thing that'll quench my thirst. And that's one of these. From Athens, Georgia, Classic City Lager. Let's see how that tastes. Doesn't seem to have much taste at all. I think I got one of them light beers. Oh well. All's not lost, because at the same gas station, I also got a terrapin hopsecutioner. See how that does. Oh yeah. Now that's a beer. Happy beer face. As the sun set on the campground, it was time to call it a day. Now this part of the trip was a little subtle, but not all travels need an adrenaline rush. Sometimes you just need to relax. In the morning, I would be off to a new destination. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please check out my others as well. And please don't be shy if you want to subscribe. Happy trails!